Now, can you imagine being accused of a witch all because someone went into some sneezing fits? Well, that's precisely what happened to Alice Samuel in November of 1589. Now, for reference, Alice was 76 years old at the time of the allegations, while Jane was just a mere 9 years old. That's when a total of 12 maid servants, including 5 daughters, accused Alice of being a witch. And one girl, Jane, according to her mother, would break into random sneezing fits that would last for almost half an hour. And while today we may think maybe she just has a case of persistent rhinitis, back then it had to be witchcraft. And apparently Jane also went into a trance, laid down for an hour, and her belly began to swell. Rhinitis and gas, in my opinion. Now, these allegations were only exacerbated against Alice when Lady Cromwell pulled Alice to the side to ask her about these supposed allegations. And each time Alice would talk, Lady Cromwell would cut a piece of her hair. She then gave it to Lady Throckmorton, who was Jane's mother and the other 5 girls and the boss of the 12 maid servants, to burn. That night, Lady Cromwell fell asleep, became mysteriously ill, and died in the early part of the following. Now, a person posing to be a friend of Alice's convinced her that maybe you should just go ahead and admit to witchcraft and get this all over with, which she did. But then the very next day she recanted, and she continued to recant after that. Well, her husband, and her young daughter were thrown in prison and then tried for the death of Lady Cromwell. They were, of course, found guilty, as Alice's own words to Lady Cromwell, "Why do you accuse me so? I've never caused you any harm," were actually used against her for whatever reason. They were found guilty, and unfortunately, all 3 were hung. Now, what's interesting about this is that post Alice's death, we'll call him coroner, so to speak, or jailer, and his wife found a supposed witch's mark on Alice's body, and this was used to further justify her execution. Now, at first they thought that they were going to conceal it because, hey, she was already dead. But they decided in the end to go ahead and just say, yeah, she has a witch's mark on her body. And that basically justified her execution. Not for her daughter and husband, though, but for hers. Now, this is definitely one of the more earlier witch trials taking place in the early part or the late part of the 16th century. And by the time we reach the 17th century, the witch accusations just exploded all around Europe. So that part was, sneezing fits. Really? Sneezing fits? So if I just start sneezing all of a sudden, I'm just going to accuse somebody of putting spell work on me, which actually, you know what? I'm not going to say that. But yes, sneezing fits, really? Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments.